Danial Rochford, he's the CEO of Tourism Central Australia. How are you, Daniel?
Good morning, gents, and good morning to your listeners.
I think you were up in the north of Australia before you got to Central Australia, weren't you, doing a similar sort of job?
Yes, in Northern Queensland, so in the Whitsundays and Central Queensland. So, but been in Central Australia now for just under 5 years, and loving it.
How does it contrast to living up there, Hamilton Island and luxury and
less water? For a start.
Less water, much less water.
Less as your blue water, but it's equally as exciting when we see the tide flow. So we look forward to when the tide flows, and just reminds me of yesterday's.
It sounds like you've settled in.
Indeed, and it's this type of community that really gets under your skin. And you heard just from Matt, who's grown up in the town, and it's a town of opportunity. And how good is it that we've got a mayor like Matt Patterson? He's very passionate, and he's doing an amazing job.
No, he sounds like a terrific
support his community.
He sounds like a terrific guy to have as the mayor.
Yeah, and look, we can all have a pity party about the challenges that we face, but the challenge that we've got is how do we turn the ship around? And
what do you think? How do you? Let's say you had control and you could do anything you wanted. How would you turn the ship around?
Yeah, look, I think there's certainly generational challenges, and Matt's touched on those. It's dealing with some of the systemic issues, and that $250 million that has been put on the table is they're working with the local traditional owners and the local communities to try and make sure that's not money poorly spent. It's spent correctly, and I agree with Matt. It's not a everyone wins a prize competition. It's about how do we fix the problem systemically. So, housing, poverty, education, and the list goes on. But certainly from an economic perspective, and this is something that I've said very carefully to both the territory and federal governments, is it's okay to win, and it's important that you invest in the social issues, but equally we must not forget about the short-term implications, about the impacts all this is having on our economy. And tourism is a lifeblood of the Central Australian economy, as is the pastoral industry and the like, and we can't lose these industries as collateral damage.
You mentioned poverty. I scratch my head at that because there are, sort of around 700,000 Aboriginal people, and I'm not sure exactly if all of them are Aboriginal or just some of them claim Aboriginality. I'm not sure how any of that works. But if you take the budget, which is about over $40 billion a year, and you divide that up, that makes every man, woman, and Aboriginal child very, very wealthy. Where does the money go?
Yeah, I wish I had the answer for that, Jeremy. But what I see on the ground, of course, is you look at some of our town camps around Alice Springs, and that's one of our local councillors described it in the media recently as fourth world, and that's a fair representation. We need to do better, and you've heard me say in the media recently that this is actually something that I encourage Australians for right around the Commonwealth to come to Central Australia, to see this, to lean into it. And don't be shy to come to Central Australia. We should be making sure that we open and put light on this situation, because this is an Australian issue.
Yeah. But Daniel, going on from what Jeremy's talking about, the amount of money that's spent annually and what has been spent annually now for decade upon decade. I don't want to sound negative, but in your view, what have we done wrong and which we could learn from in the future, for the future?
Yeah, look, I think we need to, and I'll come from an economic standpoint, we need to make sure that this is I've been often said that we're one of my communities in Central Australia. It's the local Aboriginal corporation runs most of the shops and the like. And when you go into those shops, you'll be greeted by a Filipino or someone from Somalia or someone from India.
Really? How did that happen?
what has happened to get to that stage where we have opportunities, economic employment opportunities, but for some reason that's not equating to Indigenous economic participation. I think that's good. We've got to have a good hard look at ourselves in terms of linking those opportunities to all Australians.
And that's one of the things that Warren Mundine has continually told us on the show, and that what he's working towards is to actually provide employment and opportunity of employment for Aboriginal people.
Oh, look, I think the opportunities that come from employment are immense. And I look at our great Indigenous tourism businesses here in Central Australia. They do an amazing job telling the Indigenous cultural stories. And they are small business men and women, and they do an amazing job. And I see them flourishing. We need more people like them. And, I openly encourage as any person, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, to come and start a business in Central Australia, because the opportunity is there.
How hard is that? Are they fast-tracking and getting rid of red tape and stuff like that to advance that idea? I hope they are.
I wish I could say yes, but there's still a lot of red tape there. And, I had an instance just last year where I was funded 2 positions here in the Alice Springs Information Centre for 2 Indigenous people to work in my organisation that I manage. And just the day after I got that funding, a young lady who'd been a graduate of the Voyages Tourism Academy at Uluru walked in my door and with a CV, and I said, "Oh, great, this is perfect. I'll talk to the government officials who manage that program." And then I got a call back saying, "Sorry, you can't employ her." And I said, "Why?" And I said, she lives in Alice Springs town, not the town camps around Alice Springs." Oh. And even though she was unemployed, even though she was Indigenous, I couldn't employ her.
Well, it's silly, isn't it?
It is that type of bureaucracy that we need to start to dissolve. And look,
who's responsible for it, Daniel?
Oh, I think it's just an overarching, years of putting. We often put a lot of bureaucracy and governance around things, and often these things do get in the way of actually facilitating outcomes. And look, I'm more confident now that that's starting to dissipate, and there's a lot more coordination and focus on these on what we're doing here. But we need to do it better, and there's no doubt. My point that I often say is that the social work is being done, and that's great, and we fully support it, and that will take generations to see the fruition. But we need to focus on the short-term economy, and that we can't lose sight of.
A lot of trouble, and I was talking about the trouble that they're having in Melbourne with crisis meetings to try and do something about the level of youth crime on the streets of the city. It seems like it starts with the breakdown of the family. The kids don't respect and have no discipline for the family. They won't do what they're told, even if the parents are telling them. You will do your homework. You will go to bed by 10 o'clock. You will, whatever. I'm thinking of the elders who would have had, in normal circumstances, the great respect of the younger Aboriginal generation. What are the elders doing in all of this?
Yeah, I think there's a breakdown in Indigenous law as well, too. So,
and white law. White law as well. Same thing's happening.
Yeah. Matt talked about this, that, fights have been erupting in Alice Springs, and they've been disrespecting the local traditional owners of Alice Springs by doing that. The people don't go to the communities that they come from and start fights. So, there's a disrespect to local Indigenous law too, as well as traditional law. So, these things, there is a breakdown. And I think, a lot of this does go back to the fact that, we're dealing with that baby bonus generation at the moment. We've got a lot more young people. They're all becoming mid to late teenagers. There's boredom. There's a whole raft of social issues to throw on top of that. And, it's all mixing up into what we've got at the moment. But, look, I'm, as you heard from the Mayor, we're not going to have a pity party on this. We're going to roll up the sleeves and, we've got an amazing community, amazing place. And certainly from a tourism perspective, I hear our visitors day in, day out say how amazing the experience they've got here. And yes, we've got our challenges, but other places have challenges as well. On Saturday night when we had our incident, there were probably issues in Adelaide and issues in Melbourne of the same magnitude. So, but we're going to roll up the sleeves and really make sure that we encourage visitors to come to the region.
Well, I don't blame you. You've got a great product and you clearly believe in the product. But you know what they say about, give a dog a bad name and you may as well shoot it. I mean, how do you feel when you see the publicity that poor old Alice Springs gets, when in fact the same publicity could apply to, as you quite correctly say, any city in the country?
Yeah, it breaks our heart. And look, we've seen in my time here, I've seen a lot of small businesses. I've had a small business person just in my office just recently in absolute tears that they have spent the last cent of their superannuation and their business is going under. Your heart breaks for those individuals who are just trying their best to run a small business. Yeah. And, these things are happening, they're real, and I think the best thing Australians can do, as I've said over the last few days, is come to Central Australia. Come and see it in your own eyes. Don't turn your back on these issues. Lean into them.
How big is Alice Springs? How many people are there?
27,000, and we're home to many great experiences and some quirky ones too. Did you know that our KFC here locally is the only KFC in Australia that has actually applied in the world to get a Michelin star?
Oh, really?
Indeed.
Impressive.
We have a very quirky, it's that territory and, quirkiness that we're known for. And, we're a great multicultural community. We're a great community. Yes, we're doing through some tough challenges, but we'll get through it.
Have you got a radio station there?
Yes, indeed. 8HA and our ABC friends. So, it's a great. In fact, you guys should come up. Hey, why don't we get you up at some stage? And, live broadcast.
We'd love that. I mean, I think you're such a good salesman. We should get you down here. We need you.
We need to broadcast from the soft sands of the Todd River.
Yeah, well, we can do an outside broadcast or something like that. We'll borrow your dining room table, Daniel.
I think many of my colleagues have said to me that I've got the hardest job in tourism in Australia at the moment. But, when you've got such an amazing experience, amazing product, amazing people, it is an easy sell. And yes, we've got some tides against us. But, when you focus on the reality, and I hear it every day, gents, when our tourists tell me how amazing this place is, that's the thing that we need to be focusing on and shouting that from the rooftops.
You're unique up there, the topography, the culture, the opportunity for the future is certainly there. You've just got to get back to the basics, get everyone employed, everyone on the same page, and I think the world's your oyster, literally.
And as I said at the start of the interview, we are just so fortunate to have a young, blooded mayor in Matt Patterson, who's just a real, his leadership has just been very refreshing, and that enthusiasm is infectious. And there's a lot of people like him, young families who just want to have nice things and amazing events and amazing experiences in their local town. And I'm sure we will work through these issues and we'll come out the other side a much stronger community.
Thank you, Daniel. Good luck to you. More strength to your arm.
Thanks, gents. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Danial Rochford. He's the CEO for Tourism